Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV. We review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture to see how those incidents may or may not affect our daily lives. Listen, you saw from my community page that I was not going to do a stunt shows and shenanigans. And let me just be very clear. When I do stunt shows and shenanigans, I like to be on camera. Um, I'm having a few issues to where me being on camera is not feasible. However, the information that I have, I want to be able to share. I know it is late night. I don't expect too many people to be in here, but this is where I guess I think better late at night. I don't know, but we're going to go over some topics. Please share this video if you care. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, um, I was going to say something. Did I see? Hey, chill. You're up late at night. Did I see the incident of Will outside that theater? Yeah, where he came out of the theater and told the people that he was thankful for them coming. I did. So I had mentioned to somebody somewhere, I said, oh, I guess they thought people were going to cancel Will because of that slap. Absolutely. No cancellation there. No cancellation there. I haven't seen Bad Boy yet. I'm going to go see it. I hopefully go see it tomorrow. Um, because I hear that it was a very good movie and I'm looking forward to seeing it. So I'm hoping to going to see it tomorrow. Yeah, he was embraced. He was embraced because I think more so publications and mainstream were wanting to have him quote unquote canceled. And that's not what's going on. I watched Chill's video actually early yesterday when he was talking about Megan Good and Jonathan Majors. And I had commented on there when he was talking about are they the new Bobby and Whitney? And my answer continues to be no, they're not. However, the points that he was making was clear, were clear, and I understood them. Because one of the things that I have found out with that particular case is that mainstream media had already had a script for him. And I think that Megan being introduced into the mix because Megan is so loved by her fan base and everyone else except for the Christian women when she was married to Devon Franklin. But because she's loved, that put a monkey wrench in there because it was difficult for them to put this information out without trying to almost make her look a little crazy, but we all know that with her, she's been very transparent about who she is and how she feels and things like that. So, uh, yeah, cancel. I think in regards to Jonathan Majors and Megan Good, I think the mainstream media had a script, and I think that that script was not able to come to fruition as well as they thought it was, all because of the fact of Megan. Now, regardless of whether people believe that that was PR or whether it's real, I don't really care about that. I just really don't care about that because at the end of the day, that is not our relationship. We're not in the middle of it or any of that. Even with that relationship with GJ, we were not in the middle of that. However, I think the the mainstream media's wanting to cancel him is craziness, is absolutely craziness. And the same thing with Will Smith. We understand, and again, that goes back after you start researching. If we stop being so emotional on the moment and start researching, you saw that Chris Rock has had an issue with Jada and Will Smith for quite a long time. Now, I am not an advocate for violence. However, I am a Gen Xer, and don't start none, don't be none, because you never understand or know what's going to happen with somebody if people are out here starting stuff. But anyway, I wanted to go over a couple of things that I saw out in the news, and this is going to be just some information, and also it's going to be possibly a little rant at the same time because there's some things that I see that are either I'm appalled by and shocked by, that has not made a bigger dent in the zeitgeist of what we're looking at and how we view the world and stuff like that. So let me get to my first story. I think I only have three stories. Let me see. Yeah, so I talked a little bit about Jonathan Majors. I think I saw here. Since I started here, let me share my screen and then I can end that here as well. So here we have a People magazine. They wrote this on June the 6th, and it was written by Madeline Jenks. It says Megan Good and Jonathan Major says presence and learning together keeps their relationship strong. This is an exclusive, um, according to People, and we're just going to read just a few bits of it, and then we're going to leave it alone. It says Jonathan Majors and Megan Good are sharing what keeps their relationship solid. The couple attended the Frederick Douglass Award Thursday night, June 6, 2 months after his sentencing. They posed together at the New York Urban League annual event. So this was an event by the New York Urban League. I will go back and look up this event because it's one thing to highlight the fact that Megan and Jonathan have been there, but it's also another thing just to highlight the event itself. And we want to make sure that we highlight the event itself. So I will go back and go over this event in another video. But let's continue. They posed together at the New York Urban League's annual event, at which Good was an honorary co chair due to her work in philanthropy and performance in Prime Video's Harlem. Good 42 stepped out in a sheer black skirt with a sheer top and a statement necklace, while Majors 34 opted for an all black look made complete with a knee length buttoned up jacket. If y'all are on TikTok, they have this little thing about the black wife glow up challenge or whatever it is. Because on TikTok, they're always doing all kinds of challenge, but they always talk about how men and that particular challenge is talking about when white men are married to black women and how they have this particular glow up. But I would tell you that that happens with pretty much all men that are married to black women. They have this particular glow up, and I've noticed this with Jonathan Majors, and because he still has his own uh, quirky and unique style, but I am appreciating how he is coordinating that style with her style, and you see them both out here, and they have a good complement to each other. So, shout out to Megan, allowing him to keep who he is, but also elevating his style. Good and Majors opened up to people on the red carpet about how they support each other. Presence, Majors said, which Good echoed. And we see they sent little smooches and stuff like that. One of the things I remember that Dre had talked about in this thing about how, as Black folks, and I'm talking about Black Americans, as a populace, sometimes we are very uncomfortable with seeing Black folks and their display of love because of the fact that we have been conditioned um, on a certain level from different entities, from the church, from social, from racial, and all kinds of different types of entities, to believe that when any time that you see Black folks together or anything like that, that they're supposed to be struggling, or they're not supposed to show public displays of affections and all of these little different things like that. And I would say and echo this: be authentically who you are. If you are someone, because in different relationships you act differently, and that's just real. And so I think people are uncomfortable with the public displays of the affection, and then they want to boil it down to PR. They want to boil it down to them being team do too much or whatever it is. And like I said, I really don't care what it is you think. They have continued to talk about their relationship and how they feel about their relationship uh, and all of those different things. Let's see. Okay. Megan added that being present with life, it's an interesting thing. Life. We have to be present in the moment right now. She added that she's learned to stay positive and just dance no matter what. Rather, whether it's raining, rather if it's shining, no matter what. This is a moment in life we'll never get back. We never get this day. We'll never get this time. We get this in a minute, making everything worth it. Major also noted that learning is an important aspect of the couple staying strong. As for how they're making the most of their summer plan, Good said they're celebrating a few loved ones' birthday and visiting her father in Hawaii. So I won't read any more of that. I just wanted to just kind of go over that clearly that, hey, they're having a thing. And again, I'm going to do a completely separate video about the Urban League and the Frederick Douglass awards show that they award ceremony or this whole situation, because I think it's important not to just only highlight them in this, but also to highlight the award. So let's get to my second story. Now this one was just absolutely this felt like it came like this was AI and it came out of a movie script, but I'm assuming that this is real. Let me share my screen again. We're going to go over this story really quick. Ha cha cha, ha cha cha. Juror says someone left her a bag with $120,000 of cash and promised more if she'll acquit. And so I guess these are the pictures of the bags. Let me see. Let's read the story and we'll probably go do the video, but we're going to read this story. Now, this is coming from the Associated Press. Uh, it's on NBC News. Is there someone who is responsible for this story? I'm not seeing it. Just says the source is the Associated Press. So let's read this. I read this and I thought, this is craziness. Because at first I didn't even think that this story was real, if y'all want to know the truth about it. I didn't even think that this story was real. Hold on just a second. That's not what I'm looking for. Hold on, y'all. Okay, let's just continue to go. It says a juror was dismissed Monday after reporting that a woman dropped a bag of $120,000 in cash at her home and offered her more money if she would vote to acquit 7 people charged with stealing more than $40 million from a program meant to feed children during the pandemic. Y'all, because I'm just gonna tell you right now why this story just resonated with me, because there's nothing that I can't stand as a thief. I can't stand a thief, because half the time if you ask for it, people will actually give it to you. I mean, being very serious, or whatever it is, half the time people will give it to you, whether it's 20, 30, $40 or anything like that. Half the time people will give it to you, but for you to steal it, but let's continue. And then I'm thinking in my head, $120,000. What would I honestly do if I was sitting on a jury and someone dropped off $120,000 at my home? I guess it would really that's crazy. I don't even know. I'm not going to even make a statement about that. But that had to be wild. That seems like something out of like some Law and Order TV show or some kind of a detective show or something like that. that somebody literally dropped off $120,000 to your home. Baby. Anyway, let's continue. This is completely beyond the pale, Assistant U.S. Attorney Joseph Thomas said in a court Monday. This is outrageous behavior. This is stuff that happens in mob movies. Exactly. This is craziness. These seven are the first of 70 defendants expected to go to trial in a conspiracy that cost taxpayers $250 million. 18 others have pleaded guilty, and authorities said that they recovered about 50 million in one of the nation's largest pandemic related fraud cases. Child, is this part of that PPP fraud? Because that got a lot of folk. That got a lot of folk. Where I live, there's a couple of people right now having to serve 2 and 3 year sentences because they got that money, that PPP loan money, fraudulently. Oh my gosh! But this is a quarter of $1 billion, man. Prosecutors say that just a fraction of the money went to feed low income kids, while the rest was spent on luxury cars, jewelry, travel, and property. And just as someone who has worked with grants and things like that, you all really have to understand that you have to report down to the last penny. And particularly if you're getting state government, federal government money, you have to report that money down to the last penny. And you have to use that money in the parameters in which you receive that money. So if they said that you had to use this money to feed low income children between the ages of 10 and 15, but they had to live in five different cities in your state, you had to follow that to a T. You couldn't add a sixth city because of the fact that you see that there was a need. And even if there was a need in that sixth city, that city couldn't profit off of that money because it was only for five different cities. And this is just tremendous. $250,000, and y'all are out here just using this money willy-nilly. Anyway, during the trial that began in April, defense attorneys questioned the quality of the FBI's investigation and suggested that this might be more of a case of record keeping problems than fraud, as these defendants sought to keep up with the rapidly changing rules for the food aid program. These seven initial defendants were affiliated with a restaurant that participated in the food aid program. Those still awaiting trial include Feeding Our Future's founders Amy Bach, who has pleaded not guilty in any wrongdoing. The 23, look at that, Lord have mercy. The 23-year-old juror said that she immediately turned over the bag of cash to the police. She said a woman left it with her father in law Sunday with the message that she'd get another bag of cash if she voted to acquit. Shout out to that young lady. Shout out for her to be doing her civic duty by being a juror, and shout out to her for being a moral and upstanding young lady, and turned in that money when she, because either way, she didn't even have to open her mouth to say anything, but she did. But shout out to that person. Defense attorney Andrew Burrell told the judge that the bag of cash is a troubling and upsetting accusation. Well, someone has some money. If they give you if they're running around with $120,000 just out of their pocket, somebody somewhere has enough money uh to do whatever they need to do. Someone is out here still with a good portion of that $250 million. Let's see. So there's a lot of things. So this was just an interesting story, just because it just was highlighting for me that there are people out here that do the right thing. For whatever reason, they do the right thing and highlight people doing the right thing. But what do y'all think? Would y'all be able to sit around and someone just dropped $120,000 off? And shout out to that father-in-law, because they could have dropped that $120,000 off. That father-in-law could have said, I don't know nothing about it. Ain't nobody coming around this house and dropped off nothing. And that father-in-law could be somewhere in Hawaii, somewhere where just living it up. But shout out to them. But this sounds like an interesting case. I am curious as to what is going on. I know that there was a link in here. Let me see. Let's see if the link will open. This happened in Minneapolis. They charged 48 people. Here's the root of the alleged scheme, and I'm just going to read it. The defendants are accused of targeting federal child nutrition programs that provide free meals to low income children and adults. The money comes from the U.S. Department of Agriculture with oversight from state governments. And that just means that the state government has to report to the agricultural Department of Agriculture. And then the people who got the grant money is supposed to report to the state. In Minnesota, the funds are administered by the state Department of Education, with meals historically provided to kids through schools and daycare centers. Sites that serve the food are sponsored by authorized public or nonprofit groups. Some standard programs requirements were relaxed during the COVID-19 pandemic. For-profit restaurants were allowed to participate, and food could be distributed outside of educational program. Minnesota U.S. Attorney Andy Luger said Tuesday that a small number of people came up with a plan to exploit the relaxed rules and steal tens of millions of dollars by falsely claiming that they were providing food to children. A hot mess, a hot mess, a hot mess. So they was out here scamming the government, and those PPP loans and all of these types of little different programs and stuff like that. When they and I remember doing 45. Our president Trump 45 is what I call him. They didn't put too many parameters on the things that they were doing because a lot of times they were wanting their cronies to get to be involved in these to get this money. And so you see now, uh, you see now that they were involved in getting this money, and they did all these little different things with this money. And now you've got $250 million out here. And when you look at 250 million dollars of taxpayer money, which bothers me is that there are so many different things that 250 million dollars can do, and to be able to help the populace. And then people start complaining and doing all this other stuff, but yet we can send hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, even close to billions of dollars, to foreign countries to do whatever. We're sending hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine. We're sending hundreds of $1 million to Israel. We're sending hundreds of $1 million to other different entities for foreign policies and stuff like that. And then when you take all of that and pile up how much money is being sent out, we have, I don't know where we have in our heads that it's a problem to be able to help the taxpayers who pay this money. It's a problem, and it's not even pride. To me, sometimes it's people trying to make people feel guilty for wanting to receive help, but yet you can send money overseas to people, and where even when you send this money overseas, you can't even speak on, you can, but people in entities and in governments and corporations and actors and actresses and all different types of people in different walks of life. And if you are okay with certain political ideologies, they will try to make you feel like something's wrong with you when you start questioning the money that you went to work for and you have to pay the taxes for. And they make it seem like, oh, well, you can't question this and you can't question that. Yes, I can. And yes, I will. I do question that you spend all this money over here in the Ukraine. But those same Ukrainians won't allow certain people that look like me in their country. and they can come here and get all these benefits and all these little different things. But whereas my folks have to struggle for it. All right. It's the same thing with sending money over to Israel to be okay with them out here bombing and doing whatever they're doing over there, you know, over for a couple of thousands, let's say, I don't know how many are over there, a couple of thousands of hostages, and you're decimating a whole situation. And what bothers me is the lack of critical thinking that a lot of people are doing um with this. It's a lot of critical thinking that is not going on, because people have you noticed, and I'm just going to talk about this, that all of that bombing and all of that stuff, because people have been conditioned to believe that all those people over there in the Gaza Strip that are being bombed, all those Palestinians, you realize that you all have been conditioned to believe, because of what happened with 9/11 and all that other stuff, you all are conditioned to believe that all those people over there are Islamist extremists. And the thing that bothers me, in particularly with Christians, and Christians talking about, oh well, this is what happened and this is with God's people and all. You know what bothers me is y'all don't have the sense the Lord has that granted you to have, to not to understand that not only are there people who are probably following the faith of Islam, but you all understand and realize that some of those people over there are Christians. You hadn't even thought about that. You hadn't even thought it hadn't even hit your head to understand when people tell you that that stuff shouldn't go on. But it hadn't even approached you to believe, to understand that there are people over there that are being bombed out of their home and their children are being killed, and they are Christian as well. But you have the Amy Schumers and the Michael Rappaports want to try to tell you, oh, well, if you think that you're being an anti-Semite. See, if you sit back and you start thinking and looking and understanding what's going on over there, that's a problem. Now, I'm going to say it in the same breath, too, particularly Black folks in the diaspora. You have to understand and say in the same breath that there are a lot of things going on the continent of Africa that are similar to what's going over there in the Gaza Strip. However, you, if it's not the French, if it's not the Chinese, it's the United States of America that are doing the similar thing. This is why, when people talk about it, and I have to say this in this breath, I am an American, right? So I say it in this breath. There has been a lot of Americans that are okay, that seem to be very blasé about all those things that are going on over there, whether it's happening on the continent of Africa, whether it's happening in the Gaza Strip, wherever it is happening. But the one thing I want to say that is going to affect us as Americans is that people are looking to where the money has come from. Where is the money coming from that's allowing for these types of things of happening? See, you all think that it's happening over there and it's not affecting you. But let me be very, very clear. Let me be very, very clear. When the fallout comes from this, and we see in 2 or 3 years the decimation that has happened, let me be very, very clear. It's going to be our country that is going to pay the price for a lot of this stuff, because that's where the money has come from. And do you think the state of Israel is going to be of assistance when the hellfire and damnation, as Christians talk about, comes down upon us? Do you think that they're going to turn around and be helpful? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So being silent or not, questioning what's going on with the money that you have contributed, because just think about what's going on now with inflation. Wages are stagnated, but everything is expensive. I mean, even when you're talking about from 2 years ago, something that cost you $2 2 years ago is costing $6 now. But yet the government and certain entities in our government and certain people that are running our government can agree to send money overseas to assist in the killings of mass killings of people. But you've got people here that need assistance. And racism aside, there is just as many white folk that need help. There is many Hispanic and Korean and whatever it is, racially black folks that all need help. And you don't think that that 200 something $1 million foreign aid package couldn't help the people that live here? Child, a mess. A mess. And no one is sitting down and no one is talking about that. You We're not trying to talk about that because, again, I understand a lot of us are just working. A lot of us are trying to make it from paycheck to paycheck to make sure, we robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're doing all of these different things. But I still want us to be aware of what's going on. And so that is my rant in regards to what's going on overseas. Let me get into my rant of what's going on here in the United States. Let me share my screen. Let me see who's here. Yes, to the jury thing. I am up late. Sometime I'm part of the insomnia gang tonight. So because I've been with a lot of migraines, and for some reason it is affecting the vision in my right eye, so I'm not on camera. But yeah, I'm up tonight. The medicine has it makes me sleepy, and I slept all day, and now I'm awake, and I mean I'm awake. So that's why I'm up. Hey, Miss Perspective, Pat. Well, so Pat, it's a lot of stuff going on that we need to be aware of. I've stopped buying McDonald's. And that's an interesting thing. You know what? That has when you start looking at all the companies and all the things that we purchase and how our purchase of these certain things goes towards certain things. It's to the point now I see clearly. uh I used to think, oh, these preppers are out here just doing all this. They're just wilding out for no reason. But no, they're not. They see something coming that we don't see. And if we don't rein in the spending that we're doing and making sure that we are able to produce or understand how to produce or understand how where our food is coming from and how to do those things, we have to and how to barter and how to do all of these different things, because I'm seeing in the next 2 or 3 years, y'all, that we're going to have some blowback from what's going on overseas. And also, I do see an economic, um, a collapse like 2008, like it did in the 70s, like it did in 88, 89. See, I've lived through all of those different things, and I know that there's a way to come out the other side. And if you look at coming out on the other side, the one thing that has always been consistent with United States of America coming out on the other side is that there has to be a war or a conflict. So I'm just letting y'all know right now, we are in a situation where the wages are stagnant, but everything is getting more expensive. And the one thing that I have seen as I have lived on this earth, as long as I have lived on this earth, is that the way the United States of America comes out of this is that all of a sudden there's this big conflict. We are about to find this big bad. And it usually has always been a black or brown person. But I am quite curious to see who this next big bad is going to be, that we're going to claim is the next big bad. I'm just curious because look, heed my words, there's going to be a conflict or a war that's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. So let me share my screen really quick because I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about long games when I talk about this. It says here, this is from the AP. I did a video probably the first part of this year or maybe the end of this year talking about this grant program and how we have conservative think tanks that are going around challenging different things. You saw that you had the same conservative think tank that challenged the affirmative action policies in schools. You know, they use the model minority up here to say, oh, well, there are Black people taking your positions in higher education because they're not really that smart. They can't really get that smart. And as you all, as Asian folks, and you being the model minority, and you all having all of this knowledge and education and knowledge in maths and sciences, these Black people are taking your job, taking your positions in these Ivy League schools. And so they found that one or two or three people to challenge it. And so now that it is done away with, and loud as quiet as it's been kept, and loud as I'm about to say it, them same Asian folks are still having to, because when we tried to tell them it's not us, you're talking about legacy people. You're talking about all of those people that are keeping you out of these institutions. Now you're starting to see it. You're still not getting in these institutions, and now you've done away with the vehicle to help you get into those institutions, because you have come over and to believe that we are keeping you, or we Black folks, foundational Black Americans, are keeping you from being in positions because we're trying to get those positions, or getting there. All we were trying to do is to have something fair and equitable, and to be able to get into those positions. So at least see, I'm over here with a 4.0, with a volunteer background, and doing all of these different things. These are all the things that I'm doing, but I don't get in because of the fact you have legacy kids who are very mediocre, whose mama, whose grandmama, whose great grandmother were able to get into this institution. And so it's all of these types of things that are going on. So that same entity, same think tank, started going after this grant program. And so here's what has happened, because we're not paying attention to the right things. See, we're so busy paying attention to who people are dating and how they're dating, and whether or not we want to eradicate that. We're paying attention to uh Krishan and Blueface, and we're paying attention to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and we're paying attention to um all of these different types of things. We're out here on social media in the middle of gender wars, and we're in the middle of all of these different things, that we're not paying attention to the long game. There is an entity in the conservative party, and uh, I don't. I'm going to say it, but I'm not sure. Within the Republican Party, that they have been playing this long game since 1988. And I know that because that was the first year that I was able to vote in a presidential election. They've been playing this long game. This is why you see the Roe versus Wade being overturned. This is why you see the affirmative action in education has been overturned. And now you're starting to see a grant program that was designed for Black women business owners is now considered to be discriminatory, and that these women cannot even go further in the courts, because the courts have basically said it doesn't matter what you do, we're going to strike you down. So let's go back over it. So this is the fearless let me see if I get it right, the Fearless Fund. And what these people, they had different corporations giving grants to young Black women entrepreneurs to help them, because they were not being able to get the grants from the banks. They weren't being able to get the banks grants, I mean, the monies from the banks or anything. So this fund was designed to be able to help um, designed to help these black, because they've been shut out on a lot of different things, these black women. And so it was designed to do that. So this conservative think tank is deciding that no, 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 if only black women can, that's discriminatory. Well, it was set up because black women were being shut out of the grant processes and the other things, in loan processes and things like that, from banks and corporations and stuff like that. So a couple of corporations decided that they were going to do this. Now, let me talk about the long game. Let me talk about the long game. Let me just read this really quick, and then we're going to talk about the long run. Hold on. So this was written by Alexandra Olson. It says a U.S. federal court of appeals panel suspended a venture capital firm's grant program for black women business owners, ruling that a conservative group is likely to prevail in its lawsuit, claiming that the program is discriminatory. The ruling against the Atlanta based Fearless Fund is another victory for conservative groups waging a sprawling legal battle against corporate diversity programs that have targeted dozens of companies and government institutions. The case against the Fearless Fund was brought last year by the American uh, Alliance for Equal Rights, a group led by Edward Blum, a conservative activist behind the Supreme Court case that ended affirmative action in college admissions. Blum applauded the ruling, saying the programs that exclude certain individuals because of their race, such as the ones the Fearless program has designed and implemented, are unjust and polarizing. Fearless Fund CEO, founder Arian Simone said the ruling was devastating for the organization and the women it has invested in. The message these judges sent today is that diversity in corporate America, education, or anywhere else should not exist, she said in a statement. These judges bought what a small group of white men were selling. Alfonso David, Fearless Fund legal counsel who serves as president and CEO of the Global Black Economic Forum, said all options were being evaluated to continue fighting the lawsuit. The legal effort to dismantle workplace diversity program has suffered its share of setbacks as well, reflecting polarizing opinions among liberal and conservative judges on the issue. Last week, for example, a federal district judge in Ohio dismissed a lawsuit against the insurance company Progressive and fintech platform Hello Alice, challenging a program that offers grants to help Black owned small businesses purchase commercial vehicles. Similar lawsuits have been dismissed against Amazon, Pfizer, and Starbucks. The case against the Fearless Fund has been closely watched by civil rights groups, philanthrop- philanthropic organizations, employment lawyers, and venture capital industry as a bellwether for how the courts are viewing programs intended to level the playing field for racial minorities and other groups that have historically faced discrimination in business workplaces. And let me explain something to you all if you all are not familiar with this. A lot of people here in the majority have gotten their leg up by governmental programs. What governmental programs are you talking about? You have a lot of people who are farmies and farmers. You see Bill Gates and all of these folks that are now farmers and landowners and selling crops and things like that, because they get government subsidies to either plant certain crops or not plant certain crops. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or make, the government is giving those people that money. Now, do they do that with black farmers? No, they have pretty much canceled out a lot of black farmers into where you have uh, where the numbers used to be in the 80s. You probably had, let's say, I'm just pulling a number right there. You had probably maybe like 15% of the farmers were black farmers. Now you have less than 1% because they priced them out of that. So you have a lot of people who are making a lot of money, and then black farmers can't make that money. Why? Because they don't get the loans, they don't get the grants, they don't get the things, even though they apply for them fairly. They don't get those things because they get priced out. Because what happens is that uh, Buddy is going to make sure his friend Sonny gets the information, and they know, and they hobnob, and they eat lunch, and they do all kinds of stuff with the people who have the ability to give you to make those things. They push you out. So then you have little Terrence over here, who is a farmer, who is trying to get that stuff. He fills out the application and stuff like that. He's immediately denied. He's having to go through six and seven hoops in order just to continue to be denied. And the only time that he will get maybe anything is that if they have to take it to a board that is above the people who are living in the city at that point. Because then now those people have to make a decision. Well, we'll just go ahead and do this. And they make it seem like they're giving you a favor, when if you apply for something and you meet the criteria, then you are supposed to get it. Even if you look back in the history of America, when you talk about going to war and you talk about black soldiers would go to war, they would come home, and they wouldn't were not able to get those FHA loans to get these houses back in the 40s and 50s, as their white counterpart soldiers did. And so what happened is those soldiers were able to buy those homes, and those black soldiers were even priced out of it. Not priced out, they were told that they couldn't get those loans, and even when those white soldiers bought those homes, they couldn't sell those homes to black families. So now you have a whole populace of people who have come back from war back in the 40s and the 50s, and even going into the 60s, when you're talking about the Korean and Vietnam wars. You have those people coming back, getting homes, and now those people who are like my mother's age, they have taken those homes. They're able to sell those homes for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and use those funds to be able to fund their children's uh, entrepreneurial dreams if they need to. I'm saying all this to say, as Black folk in the United States, good, bad, or indifferent, we really need to be focusing. We really, truly need to be focusing on other things other than um, gender wars, and who's submitting to who, and who's going to be the head of this and who's going to be the head of that, and modern versus traditional, and all of these different things. While you all are out here doing all of these things, you start seeing these long games that have been played since 88. They're starting to come to fruition. How does that affecting you? When you look at Roe versus Wade being overturned, when you look at black women in the healthcare, because the healthcare system to black women is comparable to how the police are to black men. And what you're finding now, and how it's affecting us, because it always affects us differently. But what white women are starting to see and understand is that they wanted to be sitting next to the seat of power, and they forego their womanhood. Now they're starting to see that their reproductive health is starting to suffer. Again, I am seeing, from what we're seeing, look in the next few years. There's not going to be doctors going into, people who are going to medical school are not going to be going into the OBGYN field. Why? Because they made it damn near criminal. You can't go in and counsel a woman about the things that are going on. You have women in Texas is really feeling it. You have women over there, they can't even leave the state because somebody can say, "Oh, well, I think she's leaving the state to go terminate a pregnancy." And she can come back in the state because she's gone on vacation, depending on whoever it is, and it doesn't matter who that person is. If they can say, "Oh, she has to submit to an exam," really? How intrusive? She has to literally prove that when she left the state to go to Cabo to have a good time. You're starting to see a lot of these things starting to erode for you as women. Oh, was that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, because everyone's different. There are women, I think that there are women who are traditional and they want to stay home and they want to raise their children. We should support them. But at the same token, there are women that are not like that, and they should be supported as well. But you see a lot of laws now are being passed because you think that they're going to stop at Roe versus Wade. No, they didn't. They came for affirmative action. What else are they coming for? I'm going to tell you what they're coming for. They're coming to change that whole Constitution. Do you know what they're really wanting to do? They want to keep the First Amendment and the first three amendments, but all those amendments that are talking about, uh, yeah, I'm gonna say it, slavery, all those amendments that are talking about voting rights, all those amendments and all those things, they want to do away with all those things. That group of Republican conservatives that have been playing this long game, uh, multimillionaire Republican conservatives that have been playing this long game since 1988. And here's what the thing, when you used to talk about people being pro life in 1988, you know what they used to talk about? What they were talking about? They did not believe in abortions and they did not believe in the death penalty. If you were a pro lifer back from 88 and then going backwards, like towards the 70s, when you talked about being a pro lifer was a person that did not believe in abortion, and they did not believe in the death penalty. They slowly took maybe 5 years to then make pro lifers just about abortion and not about um, executions, because they started highlighting the problem with people going in and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail, and committing crimes in and out of jail. So they started highlighting those things, suckering in people's fear. And so now you have the crime, the 1992 crime bill that came around. You had all those different things. So now when you talk about pro life, the only thing that they talk about is abortion, when it used to be abortion and execution. They played the long game. When they talk about voting and voting rights and things like that, you know, everyone was talking about, wow, it shouldn't just be just one day. You should be able to when you want to vote, the system should be secure enough that if you vote on November 11th, you can also vote on days up to like November 11th being the last day that you can vote, the second Tuesday in November. I just said November 11th, but the second Tuesday, that you should be able to vote that. But now they're taking that away. So you think about living in states that have a high population, trying to get everybody to vote on that one day. And then the poll machines and things like that, they are consistently, quote unquote, breaking down. They've been playing this long game. And we as Black folks, regardless if you're conservative or if you're middle of the line like I am, or if you're liberal, there are just things that we all agree on. And that's the agendas that we should be pushing. And that those are the agendas that it doesn't matter where you fall in the political scale. Those are those agendas that should just be sacrosanct and we should be following those things. But we're not doing that. And this is that thing about us being an emotional people, where it helps us, but it also hinders us. We're so emotional in all these little different things. And again, the best example that I have for you all is during that Jonathan Majors trial. Child, when they mentioned Coretta Scott King, how everybody got all upset. He ain't got no business talking about Coretta Scott King. He ain't got no business talking about Coretta. He won his Coretta and all this other stuff. Then everybody got all emotional and everybody got all crazy about this, about Coretta Scott King. And then quiet as it's kept and loud as I'm about to say it, half those people that were talking about Coretta Scott King didn't give a damn about that woman. Not a damn. The way they used to talk about that woman and in juxtaposed her to Martin and all this other stuff, even though she did a lot of stuff, you're gonna give her flowers. She was the backbone to a lot of stuff that was going on. They would talk about her like a dog. But now she's revered. Don't mishear me. Don't mishear me. I'm not saying that she wasn't loved, but I'm just saying the emotional way that people were emotional about that name being invoked. Child, invoke that name in the 90s. That's all I'm gonna say. Go back and invoke that name in the 90s and see what you heard. How a lot of people didn't like her for her politics and things like that. You listen to see how a lot of people didn't like Coretta Scott King, rest in peace, Mrs. King. We've got to get to a point to where politics has to be high on our agenda, only in the fact that you understand what it is that you want to see politically and you fight for it. Because being living in this apathy, you see a lot of stuff that's going away. A lot of stuff that's going away. And it affects us as Black folks more than it affects anybody else. And particularly living in the United States of America, and particularly if you're a foundational Black American, it affects you a whole lot than it does affect anything. Because I have learned, this is one of the things I think that's a good thing for social media. I have learned uh, all skin folks ain't kin folks, and everybody doesn't think the same way. Because I never could understand before why, when you look at Black folks in the diaspora, why they thought a certain way about us, why they thought um, or they acted like who we were or the things that we went to didn't matter to them. But then I heard a young lady on TikTok say, because they are immigrants before they're Black and they're trying to do whatever they need to do to be able to stay in the country, and they will do whatever, having to fill out visa forms and all these little different things, and those are the things that are more important to them than their Blackness. That's more important. Their immigrant status is more important than their Blackness. So even though they do understand the stuff that we have to go through, they're looking at it from the point of view that they are immigrants first, and they are wanting to make sure that their immigrant status is secure before they'd worry about them being Black. And so I'm like, okay, so now I understand. Now I understand that when I talk about these political things, and don't mishear me, y'all, I'm not telling y'all that all of a sudden that I don't love. Like I said, I love us for real, good, bad, or indifferent. It's just that now that I know, I can't see myself partnering with folks that are immigrants about certain issues, because they're not going to look at those issues the same way that I'm going to look at them. And it's not right, it's not wrong, it's not indifferent, it's just facts. It's just facts. It's just facts. So now I'm understanding why that when they were talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and that Ocho guy was talking all this stuff that he was talking, I'm like, I understand now. I understand. You are a first generation American. You come from a family of immigrants. Your immigration status, your parents' immigration status, is much more important than actually being Black. I understand that. So I couldn't see. I don't see it to where we can partner. And let me shut up, because all things are possible. But I'm seeing that the way we view certain situations are going to be different. It's just going to be different. And I would love for us to make sure that we understand um, what's going on with us politically, and what we agree on and what we don't. And when I say we, you talk about your circle. Talk about your circle. Because what in your circle, what are you willing to live for, and what are you willing to die for? And I know you're like, Pam, that's just so extreme. I'm being serious. I'm being very serious. And I'm not being fatalist, but I'm just being serious. You're seeing a lot of things that took our forefathers and the people in my mother's generation uh 20, 30 years to get to get established, and then within my lifetime to see these things erode. However you feel about these situations, but to see these things erode, what else is going to erode? Because you think about now with HBCUs and all this other stuff, they're going to start talking about, oh, it's discriminatory for you black people to be over there in colleges and stuff like that, and there be no white people over there. Y'all are being discriminatory. And also, this hits when you don't know your history, you're gonna relive it, all the bad stuff. Because for the life of me, I can't understand why there are black people having this romantic, almost masturbation about living in the 1950s. Black parents were married and families were together, but yeah, but you couldn't vote. You were living under Jim Crow. People were being lynched. You were not even considered a second class citizen. They were considering you being third and a fourth class citizen. And what is, I don't understand this hard on for that. I don't understand this hard on for going back in the past when you know the past was not good for, and again, depends on how old you are. You know how the past was for your grandparents or your great grandparents or your parents. I think I told this story on this channel about going to the grocery store with my grandmother, and this young man who was my age calling my grandmother by her first name, and me being very upset with that, and everybody looking at me like I'm the one that's crazy, when she literally at that time was 60 years older than both of us. I couldn't call my grandmother by her first name without a prefix in front of it. And y'all talking about going back to those times? Y'all talking about going back to the times where when people in the majority could literally beat you in the street and nothing happened to them. They can literally say that you did something that you know you didn't do, but they had the law, they had everything working for them. And you as black people are running around here talking about going back to the 50s? But see, you don't know your history. You don't know nothing about it. And partly that's my generation's fault because we're not talking about this enough. We're not talking about this enough because we want to be able to provide a world with our children that their character is seen first. But that's hard when you're living with people that want to see you, that don't believe that because of the extra melanin in your skin, they believe that you're not supposed to have the things that you have. And somehow, some way that the things that you have and the things that you've worked for and you've worked hard for is an affront to them. But I want us to pay attention. This is a fund that was helping young black women uh, get grants that they were not able to get uh, the right way. I think about what is the name of that lady? I can't think of her name, but I know Kim Kardashian does the same thing. They were doing like underwear, different types of underwear, shapewear, all those different types of things. She was able to get excuse me, all this venture capital for this, and there is a shapewear underwear company that was headed up by three black women, and they couldn't even, where she, let's say that she would get like $100 million. They couldn't, they were going through the same process and they were only being, they were shut out, and they were being able to get like 500,000. People were talking about 500,000 here, 500,000 there, and their struggles to do the same thing, to make the same thing, and they were making shapewear and underwear that matched it was nude, nude underwear, where everyone with nude is different. My nude is a different color than someone who is, let's say, of Cat's complexion. Her nude is that nude. My nude is that. And then in all in between. And I just looked at that and like, wow. That woman, I can't think of her name. I can see her face, but I can't think of her name. So y'all charge that to my head. That she was able to garner all of this equity and all of this money to do what she does, and her company is still this, and then this company is still in existence, but how they have to struggle to get the same products, and it's not a matter that they don't have a base. They don't have customers. They have a lot of customers. It's about the infrastructure and being able to meet the orders of the customers, because they don't have the big warehouse. They don't have all these different things. It's almost akin to like they're still working out of their mom and pop. They're working out of their mom and dad's basement versus someone who was getting enough capital to be able to purchase a warehouse to do those types of things. That's the stuff that I'm talking about when we talk about the money and stuff like that. And so what happens is you may have a customer base, but you can't fulfill that customer base. And then people lose faith because they're wanting their stuff. And you don't have the ability or the infrastructure to be able to do that because you don't have access to the capital as other people have access to the capital. And that's what that fund was about, to be able to allow these women to get the access to the capital and all these different things so that they can bring their products to the market and they can compete. But you've got these conservatives, and let me just throw some game out here for you really really quick, and let me go back. Do you all remember, because I've seen this to me it's like an attack on black women, and I've seen it coming from this one little situation that happened, and it happened in my big old fair state of Alabama. And this happened when Judge Roy Moore was beaten by the Democrat incumbent who at that point had a snowball's chance in hell to be elected to the Senate, because I think now Tubby Tuberville is the senator who's there. They regained it. But this attack on black women started happening then when they started to see the voting power and how just this one group, this small group of women was able to knock that man out of the situation, because this man, uh walking, talking, uh, uh all kinds of problems going on with him, you know, with his penchant for under as Kendrick says, you know how Kendrick said what Jerry Cat said. He had a penchant like that. That is what and he was a district attorney at one time. He was also in my state. He was also the on the Supreme Court of the state. And this man had a lot of stuff going on, and they were wanting to put this man up in Congress. And the guy's name's gonna come to me in a minute, but it's not important because he, like I said, Tommy Tuberville beat him, won. But I started to see how all of a sudden, uh, black women have now been the target of all of this stuff. Whether you're talking about the abortion, whether you're talking about voting, whether you're talking about healthcare, whether you're talking about education, all of this, you started to see this thing all because that one man did not get into Congress. And that had to do with, in my state, everybody in their grandmama, if they were a black woman and could vote for that, they did not vote for that man. And I think he lost votes by maybe like 11, 12, 30. That he lost by some good votes because nobody was wanting to bring that person into Congress. Well, white women didn't care. He was conservative, and he started talking about family values, even though his character and his behaviors were making you question those family values. But I've noticed that since that time, and that was what, 2016, 2015, going into 2016, we're starting to see this erosion going on. I want y'all to peep game on that. And if you've noticed something different, y'all let me know. Let me know down here in the comments. Let me know. All right, people. That's all I got. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and share this video if you care. Again, this was me reporting. This is not going to be a stunt shows and shenanigans because I like to be on camera for that show. And since I knew that I wasn't going to be on camera, I just wanted to report the news and I wanted to do it. And like I said, I was up late at night because of the fact that I have been saddled with migraines. My head still hurts a little bit, but I'm more awake and I'm just trying to do something, not to just kind of sit there. All right, again, please share this video if you care. Please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I am over here making these videos. And for all of you all, let me do this first because there's a lot of you all. There's a good number of people in here. And let me shout y'all out. We got Dre in the house. Yes, I'm here. Miss Perspective Pat. Thank you so much for being by, coming by and sitting with me. I heard Arizona 90-cent tea is now 100. Yes. Yes. The Dollar Tree is now the $1.75. It's $1.75 because I think it went to $1.25 to now it's $1.75. And now they're starting to sell things that are when everything in there was $1. Now they have it like the foods stuffs like that. If you're purchasing food from the Dollar Tree, it goes from like $3, $5, and $7. So everything is getting expensive. Yes, I'm 33 and I'm sticking with it. It should not be Tuesday. I honestly think that when you're talking about voting and stuff like that, I just think that just like the way we pay taxes and your taxes are due on the 15th of April every year, I think that your ballot should just be due on that second Tuesday. So once the two nominees and everybody who is in your state or everything has been decided, each state is supposed to put out a list of what that is. And November starting from November 1st until the second Tuesday, that should be your time where you can turn in your ballot. Exactly. It should be a week-long event. Abso-doggone-lutely. It should be a week-long event. Thank you, Puma. Thank you so much. Shout out for sharing this. It's just me ranting. Tommy Tuberville is the most Stan Lee ass name and dumb as rocks. He's good at football, but he is dumb. He is dumb. Dumb. Dumb, 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 dumb. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for showing. I just wanted to go back through those comments and let y'all know I see you. I see you. All right. Let me do my speech again. Please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos, y'all. And as always, people, bye-bye.